So being a trial watcher has become more and more of a thing these days. The question is, have we changed the way attorneys tried their cases based on the fact that they know we watching? Hey guys, it's Court with Keshia here. Trial watchers have changed the ways that attorneys are now presenting their cases. Now, I myself have been a trial watcher for over 14 years. The first trial that I ever watched, and the reason that I am a trial watcher now, is Casey Anthony. Yeah, that one. So let's talk about some things that have changed in some cases over the decade as trial watchers has become more and more popular. And with places like TikTok, it's become even more of a thing that some people kind of maybe dibble-dabbled in, and for some of us are now, it's our primary target of our content that we create. So one of the first things that have changed, of course, is the increase of awareness in optics and presentation. Meaning pretty much like when attorneys are presenting their cases, the way their body language may be, their tone, even their style may have changed. We can tell some attorneys that we may have watched on trials, when they first kind of got their start, to attorneys like Jose Baez, who was Casey Anthony's attorney. He was not very known at the time, and after that case, he has taken on many big trials and is a sought-out attorney, even though some of us don't like him. Now, in the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard trial, Camille Vasquez, her style of questioning is one that has gone up in a transformative way that other attorneys have taken on, and they have taken on her approach. If you watch the YSL trial, attorneys like Miss Love, who we can tell at this point was very used to getting her way in the courtroom, and when the cameras were in the courtroom for YSL, her distaste for others being able to critique the fact of how she performed, how she communicated, her style, and things of that. She has made requests several times after that for cameras not to be allowed in the courtroom because we were criticizing her every single chance that we could. And even cases like the Karen Reed trial, where it is a retrial, and in the first trial, the way that the attorneys handled the case on both sides has changed to the way that they handled the case in the retrial. And that optic and awareness of their presentation, how they did things, because they got that feedback, from the previous trial, it impacted the way they approached the case in the retrial. It was a completely different trial. I've said that, other people have said that, because the way that they presented the trial on both sides last year versus this year, completely the different. It's night and day, completely opposite. So that presence that we made for that trial definitely will be an impact for years to come. Impact of media in the courtroom has actually changed the way that attorneys strategically do their actual presentation of their case, and they are more presenting towards the audience, you would say, meaning the people watching at home, the people watching online, versus actually the jury. When they were presenting cases previously, a lot of the time people would say that it was directed towards the jury, it was jury focused and things of that sort. But now they take into play things like making sure that we understand what they're talking about, we have reference points, because they can get instant feedback from us. And one of those trials was the Murdaugh trial, where they use a lot of cell phone data, they use GPS, they use a lot of that data, and normally in the courtroom, without us kind of having an opinion, it will be very boring, dry, bland, pretty much. And they use a lot of visual aids in that case to make sure that the story was very strategically told and very visually strategically told. So normally they would just present that stuff in an Excel spreadsheet thinking that it made sense, and they did a lot of work to make sure that you were able to follow along with that story, whether you were at home, whether you were in the courtroom, or whether you were on the actual jury. And that has changed the way that attorneys present the information. So they do a lot of prep work beforehand now to present their case to us, and that does include us, the ones at home. Now, we know that social media can amplify any situation, but the amplification of a trial based on cameras being allowed in the courtroom has some attorneys up at night and some making new requests like Miss Love. Now, without the cameras in the courtroom, you never know what your statements will hold, what weight they will hold, who will remember them, who heard it, all of that jazz, because there was not a way to really repeat it unless it was stopped in the process and said, can you repeat what was said, or to get the transcripts after the fact. But now with the cameras in the courtroom, we are rewinding stuff in the moment to get things. And within that, we take those different clips, we make different memes, we make complete content videos about that information that is being said within the courtroom. And they're now talking points, and some of those things are statements that we've taken and we use in our every single day life all the time. Especially somebody like Woody, who was in the courtroom. He made several statements that became known just by him alone without even having to say anything, because he made so many viral moments that we remember every single one of them. And even a trial like the most recent one that I've been watching with Karen Reed, ham sandwich will be a thing for a while. Even somebody like Lori Daybell, who was talking about, you know, when she's with the judge and she's talking about how she can provide character evidence, and he said, you're a 4-time murderer. What are you going to present? Things of that sort that will just never live down, because they were such important moments that were captured and exploded into viral moments because we loved how we heard it, how they said it, their facial expressions, things of that sort. And with cameras used to not being as widely available in the courtroom as they are now, there were so many moments that were missed, and now we wait and anticipate for those moments. People like Jodi Arias, that's one of the ways that I got my family members into watching trials. And it was like, what is she going to say now? She was very captivating. She came across as crazy, but her moments, being able to capture them within the moment, was an anticipation that we had, an excitement that we had, and we couldn't wait to talk about it because we never know what they're going to do. Now, I personally think that shifting the jury psychology is one of the most important ways that trial watchers have changed the way things are done now in the courtroom, because it has brought more awareness to jurors being jury savvy. When they're going, they are more knowledgeable. It even changes the way that the attorneys ask the questions that they need to ask to strike or, you know, want to continue on with the juror. They change the way that they ask their questions. Their list of questions become longer. Their in-depth knowledge of, we have to make sure that we check for this, we check for that, based on the fact that we are all more jury savvy. Now, does that mean everybody? Absolutely not. There are some people that have never watched a trial and will be called to jury duty, and they are like, I don't know nothing about nothing. And some people have watched enough that they're like, oh, I can't wait to be on the jury. So they will do certain things to be a part of a jury. So the awareness that the attorneys have, the staff has, and potential jurors going in to be a part of a potential trial, the approach, absolutely different. Because you never know what people know. So it really forces attorneys to think about things not just on the legal stance, but more on the emotional stance, because people are so much more invested. They have to be able to pull on those heartstrings of those potential jurors to go for either side, whether that's a prosecutor or a defense attorney. Now, a trial that I would like to reference is the Derek Chauvin trial. We watched the George Floyd video several times before it got to trial. Numerous. Some of us watched it in real time. I was one of those people. I saw it happening in real time, and I had such disbelief that I was watching what I was watching. And that content from that day, from those different angles, was used in the courtroom. So somebody who didn't have any knowledge of that incident prior to being called in for jury duty was not aware. It was like, well, everybody's seen this video. It's been everywhere. Everybody should see it. But there are people who had not seen it. There are people who had not seen it from different angles. And in the courtroom, they showed it from different angles multiple times over, had it explained thoroughly from all those different angles, from each person that recorded it, from people that were just bystanders, that were just witnesses, all of that. They did it. They even had the camera angles from the city. So they played that video footage over and over and over. And by the time the jury was done watching that video, they knew they had won their case, because emotionally, that video took you a place that you didn't know it was going to take you, especially watching it from everybody's different perspective. It made a picture very clear. We got to make a choice now. And in the past, of course, there were not that many different people that were quickly to pull out a camera. There were not always the street cameras that could have captured moments, things of that sort, to help tell the story. But the captivating way that social media is these days, we were in and invested from day one of that case until even present day, because recently it came up that they were going to see about trying to get him pardoned, and it was a no-go. But at that time until now, it is still a big part of a lot of people's lives, based on the way things have changed. PR strategy is the way to go. The way things have gone now, high-profile cases usually have a PR team in full effect to kind of approach how they want to present to the media as a whole. Even the attorneys have to go through PR training, and statements are being written. Statements are being written for them. Statements are being written for their clients. Things of that sort. Just like with Luigi Mangione, his attorney, Karen Agnifilo, whenever she would present in front of the media, she always, of course, had a pre-written statement, and she never really went off the dome. She always made sure to present in a way that aligned with how they wanted to present his case across the board. So she definitely would take the time to speak to the media, just because she knows it is a high profile case. We want to talk to you. We want to talk to you about your client and things of that sort. Of course, there are things that are attorney-client privilege, but the way that she approaches the media, making sure that she is being seen, very friendly, very open and welcoming, is a complete behind the scenes plan that they all take into account these days. Even to the point of coordinating how they would dress and things of that sort. He even had a specific person to come in and kind of teach him about jail culture, how to be prepared for if he is found guilty and has to deal with a long sentence. Things of that sort are all now being brought into play from day one on cases that are known to be high profile or in anticipation of being in a high profile situation. And sometimes cases that are not prepared or planning to be a high profile case end up being high profile cases. And again, that is based on a trial watcher getting so invested that they are able to pull other people along and make them want to join in and see what's going on with the case. And they end up falling deeply into the case, just like the original person that they saw, talking about a case that may not have gotten as much media coverage as it has after people got involved and started asking questions, had concerns, making phone calls, checking on people's resumes and making sure they're qualified to do these jobs, because they don't seem qualified. Some of them are not. So the courtroom that used to be just a place for justice has become more of a place with the stage where performance, perfection, and persuasion matter more. I definitely still think it is a place for justice, but I do think that all of those other factors have come into play, and the way that we used to watch trials has changed and will continue to change going forward as more people are more and more interested in watching the trial from day one, all the way through until that justice is being done, however that may be. So presentation, style, visuals, PR, and even emotional framing have changed the ways that attorneys present their cases from the pre-trial watchers era to the now trial watcher era that we're currently in, and I honestly don't see going away anytime soon. So let me know in the comments how you have seen trial watchers change courtroom behavior since you've been a trial watcher yourself.